The Enigma project, funded through the European Union's Horizon programme, is an international effort to develop and implement advanced tools for the protection, documentation, and provenance management of cultural heritage objects. The aim is clear: to strengthen our collective ability to detect, track, and protect cultural artifacts, especially at border points such as airports, ports, and customs inspections. At the heart of Enigma lies a digital platform designed to support law enforcement agencies, customs authorities, and cultural heritage institutions in identifying and documenting objects of historical value. The platform provides a number of different tools, intuitive workflows, metadata enrichment, and AI-driven classification tools. Objectives are designed to help the involved stakeholders better respond to this complex and multidimensional problem, and leverage active collaboration by fostering and enabling interlinking of databases and evidence-based deployment of preventive measures. Divided in three main categories: scientific objectives, technical objectives, and demonstration, dissemination, and exploitation objectives. Enigma brings together a multidisciplinary consortium of institutions from across Europe, bringing together 12 partners from 7 different countries. One of the core partners, Heritage Malta, has played a pivotal role in supporting the platform's development. Enigma from Heritage Malta played a leading role in coordinating stakeholder involvement across Maltese institutions and airport authorities, enabling real-world testing of the Enigma system.
The digitization unit of Heritage Malta is very proud to be participating in the Enigma project on various levels. We are mainly working by providing data sets of the different artifacts that are being tested in this ambitious project, targeting the illegal trafficking of cultural heritage assets. But we have also been involved in working with using these 3D models, these assets, in the AI development of the project. But probably the most interesting part came just a few weeks ago when we tested the first prototype of this demo in a live environment, whereby people going through the baggage checking area in the airport would have their luggage scanned, and we wanted to identify if any artifacts being held within these luggages would be checked, would be identified, and then start testing the systems that we have been developing as a project to see if these artifacts would be identified or flagged as coming from illegal trafficking of cultural heritage goods, and see how fast and how difficult the system is to be used by the first-line officers working in the airport, who would be the people using such a system.
The Enigma project is coordinated by Professor Haralabos Georgiadis of the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. A specialist in photogrammetry and remote sensing, Professor Georgiadis has overseen the system's integration across multiple partners and environments.
Today, we demonstrated the use of the Enigma platform under realistic conditions in the Malta International Airport. The scenario was realized successfully, and the Enigma platform and tools performed according to plan. Following the demonstration, we had a very fruitful discussion session with the end users, airport security personnel, and archaeologists working under the Superintendence of Cultural Heritage of Malta. We gathered their comments and recommendations and answered their questions about the Enigma platform. All their input will be used to fine-tune and enhance the final version of the Enigma platform.
Matthew Grima, Head of Diagnostic Science Laboratories at Heritage Malta, identified critical gaps in current border scanning technologies across different airports and highlighted the importance of material density and visible assessment, testing various items to determine how different materials such as bone, wood, metal, and ceramics appear in the CT scanners, and identifying potential gaps in the process. Key questions raised: can current scanner algorithms be modified to include heritage detection? How can Enigma support early identification without overwhelming existing security workflows?
Heritage Malta's Diagnostic Science Laboratories, based on their experience with cultural heritage scientific investigations, were roped in by the Enigma partners to support this immense positive project. This is being stated because there is currently a problem around the world with the illicit trafficking of cultural heritage objects, cited in literature that it supports terrorist financing, for example, and in a way, therefore, this application is surely positive. However, a question comes about. Whilst this application would positively flag something that is being illicitly trafficked if there is the information within the platform, what is being done when objects cross borders, so within ports and airports? And that's how our laboratories were brought into this project to kind of support the aspect of illicit trafficking via passenger travel. And that is how, through our experience with cultural heritage radiography, also working with some objects that were fakes or forged, we do know how X-ray technologies work at the airport. In a sense, being that they will not manage to flag an illicit object being trafficked. However, we have the innovation part that came into the world of airports recently, which is the modern CT scanning-based scanner that the Malta airport has recently upgraded on all its lines. So through our contacts, we managed to get an appointment there, with the airport staff being very supportive. And the idea was more emanating from a question. Are these scanners supportive in what we are bound to achieve? So we ventured on a quest, so to speak, to be informed more about these scanners, but to also test them, whereby objects were purported as to being trafficked illegally, packed in hand luggage, and these were scanned through the systems. And the big question comes here, that nothing related to a problem with the local airport, but this is a worldwide technological impact, that the more technology is advancing, the less is the operator contributing towards flagging illicit objects.
During our visit, we operated in the two primary areas of the Malta International Airport facility. Departure security area, where we conducted on-site observations and interactions. Conference room, where we delivered a demonstration and presentation. A note of consideration is that the airport representatives explained the sensitivity of working within high security zones and emphasizing their usual restrictions concerning public information sharing. 2 artifacts were selected for the demonstration under the supervision of Glenn Carter. Archaeologist at the Malta Museum of Archaeology was responsible for selecting and transporting the artifacts used in the demonstration. These were paired with high-quality replicas, test scanners, and platform performance. Carter also provided cultural insight during the data input process, ensuring accurate metadata and real-world relevance. The selection was guided by Enigma's technical aims and the practical considerations of the test environment.
The National Museum of Archaeology Malta sent 2 items for the study: a North African red slip oil lamp bearing a Cairo symbol, and Roman period augmentarium with a short neck and round body. We selected these items for 2 key reasons. First, they represent object types that are well documented in archaeological literature. We thought that this contextual framework could help the Enigma system, enhancing its ability to identify matches and trace patterns across regions and time periods. Secondly, although we were aware that this was highly unlikely, we were curious to test whether airport scanning equipment could identify between high-quality reproductions and the original artifacts. This experiment offered valuable insights into the limitation as well as potential of such technology in the protection of cultural heritage assets.
The selection was guided by Enigma's technical aims and the practical considerations of the test environment. Key criteria included existing documentation. The artifacts are well represented in Heritage Malta's collections through multiple photographic records varying quality and chronology, along with associated analytical data. This made them ideal for evaluating Enigma's image recognition and multi-data tools. Availability of related objects. Similar and fragmented artifacts exist within the national collection. These provide a valuable data set for testing Enigma's AI-based reconstruction tools, which aim to digitally reassemble fragmented cultural heritage items. Availability of replicas. High-quality replicas of the artifacts were available and used to simulate scenarios involving authentic versus counterfeit heritage objects. The Enigma project conducted its first live demonstration at Malta International Airport on the 23rd of May 2025. The demonstration served as a real-world application of Enigma's technological tools in the context of cultural heritage protection at border points, specifically airport security zones. The Enigma workshop and live demonstration held in Malta had 4 primary objectives: to observe how city technology handles cultural objects in real-world conditions, to evaluate the Enigma's platform's usability in an operational security setting, to collect feedback from cultural heritage professionals, and to develop an integrated case study for future pilot implementations. That event agenda included online platform overview, security walkthrough and scanner testing, Enigma tool demonstration, roundtable discussion and feedback. Coordinating access for external project partners into restricted airport zones required advanced clearance, background checks, and issuance of temporary security passes. This involved close collaboration with airport security personnel and adherence to strict protocols. All attendees were granted special access passes to secure areas within the airport. Filming permissions for restricted areas were obtained in advance, and special security passes were granted to attendees. 2 pre-packed suitcases were used, one containing replicas, the other actual cultural artifacts. Items of varying densities were included to test scan visibility. Aligning the demonstration with airport operational workflows demanded careful coordination. A scanner lane had to be temporarily closed for 40 minutes for the live test, which was only feasible during a narrow window to avoid disruption to airport operations. The successful coordination to the demonstration also highlighted the value of interagency cooperation. Tamara Antoni, security specialist at Malta International Airport, explained the scanner's capabilities during the demonstration as she guided the participants through the CT scanner interface, highlighting technical parameters and explaining how operations analyze visual data.
Since 2018, Smiths Detection came up with a 3D CT scanner, which are certified to be C3. C3 means that electronics and liquids are to remain inside of the baggage. This type of X-ray is a high scan 6040, which actually specializes in 3D images. Having said that, still 2D are being produced as well. However, there are more enhancements to it as well. As an X-ray machine, it detects weapons. It also has depth of extraction, and also it has an EDS alarm, which basically means that any explosive detection is being triggered as well by the machine. As a CT scanner itself, it's producing over 720 images every rotation that it's doing, and the generator has also 130 revolutions per minute, so that is actually quite fast, which is making us even more efficient and effective in our operations. The machine also allows us to extract certain data. Since everything is being stored on the server, we can extract data by PDF or CSV files as well, and we can get any sorts of information like any back-type reports, images that have been saved and we want to have a look at them again. We can see the screeners, we can analyze their performance, their threat detection, any hit rates they might have, and how fast they are going. Okay, so as part of the security department, we were recently contacted by Heritage Malta and the Enigma project to be able to take part in their study, where we would allow them in having a look what the scanners are showing and to see how we are able to maybe integrate the 2 systems together to be able to determine certain artifacts throughout the scans. Having said that, we are currently always looking out for any security prohibited articles and dangerous goods, which mostly consist of explosive and incendiary substances and devices, many stunning devices, any weapons, any tools that may harm a person or the environment. Together we're going to try and come up with future ways how we can collectively work together and collaborate together to be able to detect any illegal artifacts that might be stolen or misplaced and trying to be passed from our channels.
The Superintendence of Cultural Heritage was also represented, with Yasmin Kassar and colleagues in attendance. The Superintendence is responsible for the surveillance of activities related to the control, direction, monitoring, regulation, investigation, and recording of cultural heritage. They oversee all legal matters related to the conservation and movement of cultural artifacts. Their insights help ensure the tools are not only technologically sound, but also usable and relevant within expert cultural heritage environments. Their support lays in the foundation for possibly developing joint policy recommendations, updating documentation processes, and formally integrating cultural heritage screenings into airport procedures.
The Superintendence of Cultural Heritage was approached, being the regulator of cultural property, with regards to the project Enigma by Heritage Malta, and we were asked to give our contributions and opinion with regards to this EU project. The superintendents followed meetings with the consortium of Enigma and was shown the demonstrations of the EU project and the draft stage of the system and the portal which is being designed for Enigma. At present, the superintendent works alongside customs at border control to carry out surveillance of cultural property being imported and also exported or moved outside national territory. Therefore, this project, in being designed to be able to control cultural objects being in transit through the airport, will help us to have more surveillance over these objects and to sort of train the personnel involved and for them to have a clearer picture of what constitutes a cultural object. And working alongside such personnel at airport control as well as via customs and the Superintendence of Cultural Heritage, we will have a much clearer picture of items which are being carried in luggages and on persons, to make sure that better surveillance is carried out.
In our era, it's so important to listen to the end users and to understand their context when we are developing digital applications, because that will allow us to create really useful and meaningful applications for them. Today in Malta, we have the opportunity and a very rich value to be able to be in a real context scenario that is the international airport, where is a potential place where the Enigma tool can be used. In addition, we were able to engage in a really fruitful conversation with potential end users. We show them to our end users the status of the Enigma tool at the moment, and it was really encouraging to see how they got engaged in the conversation, and they were open to have their feedback and their opinions about it. That allows us to not only to continue our work, but to realize that we are in the correct path.
Following the scan tests, participants gathered in the airport's conference room to observe the Enigma platform in action. Aphrodite Andreu of Heritage Malta simulated a custom scenario. An artifact was flagged and documented. The system retrieved similar items using cross-reference databases. Additional metadata and verification layers were added by experts. Key features demonstrated: location tracking via mobile input, integration of 2D and 3D models, provenance data fields, metadata and paradata separation. Feedback was collected on usability, search logic, terminology, and data confidentiality. The Enigma demonstration at the Malta International Airport marked a significant step in the project's development. It revealed both the promise and the challenges of integrating cultural heritage protection into high-security operational workflows. Looking ahead, the Enigma team will incorporate this feedback into future pilot sessions, expand the platform's database, and continue engaging with customs, museum, and enforcement communities across Europe. The unique collaboration between cultural heritage experts, security professionals, and technologists leave behind more than data. It leaves behind a new pathway. This demonstration was not just a test of tools, it was a test of trust, coordination, and shared vision. With each scan and each conversation, we moved one step closer to the future, where cultural heritage travels safely across borders, where systems are prepared, and where preservation walks hand in hand with security. This is only the beginning. The questions raised and the lessons learned here will guide our next steps. Together we are imagining the way we protect the past, through intelligence, empathy, and collective action. The project has demonstrated that technology, when shaped by expert knowledge and collaborative governance, can serve as a powerful ally in safeguarding our shared cultural legacy.